Prime Minister Mark Carney said he wants to, quote, salute President Donald Trump for his role in brokering a peace deal between Hamas and Israel.
Vancouver city officials are apologizing after facing backlash from trans activists for approving a Harry Potter-themed attraction at the city's Stanley Park.
Ontario's education minister is condemning a Toronto high school after it replaced O Canada with an Arabic version of the anthem on the second anniversary of the October 7th terror attack. Hello Canada, it's Friday, October 10th, and this is the True North Daily Brief. I'm Cosmin, Dzsurdzsa.
And I'm Clayton, DeMaine.
We've got you covered with all the news you need to know. Let's discuss the top stories of the day and the True North exclusives you won't hear anywhere else. Prime Minister Mark Carney lauded U.S. President Donald Trump's decisive leadership in brokering a historic peace agreement between Israel and Hamas, hailing it as a pivotal breakthrough after years of conflict in Gaza.
It is a day for optimism. I want to salute, of course, President Trump, whose decisive leadership has made this possible, Mr. Kushner, Mr. Witkoff, the Qataris, the Egyptians, Turkey, who've been essential to getting to this moment. The next 48 hours are crucial. We urge the parties, particularly Hamas, to follow through, release all the hostages, and including the deceased hostages. The President and I discussed in the White House how Canada can support this process. We are supporting with humanitarian aid. There's other mechanisms that we can do to support it. And I urge all parties. We're encouraged. We're encouraged, but it's the first phase, and there's more to come. Thank you.
His comments followed a statement from Trump on Wednesday confirming that Israel and Hamas had both, quote, signed off on the first phase of a U.S.-brokered peace plan. The agreement, Trump said, will see all hostages released and Israeli forces withdraw to, quote, an agreed-upon line as part of the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. Trump said, quote, this is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. Blessed are the peacemakers. Carney's written statement Wednesday congratulated Trump for his, quote, essential leadership and thanked Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey for their mediation efforts. He said, quote, after years of intense suffering, peace finally feels attainable. Canada calls on all parties to swiftly implement all agreed terms and to work towards a just and lasting peace. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre also commended the U.S. brokered deal, calling it a, quote, monumental achievement towards generational peace. Poilievre said in a statement Wednesday, quote, congratulations to President Trump on negotiating a peaceful end to the Israel-Hamas war. We look forward to and pray for the return of all hostages and the end of this bloodshed so all can thrive in a lasting peace. Clayton, one of the questions that comes to mind for me is how much has Carney and the Canadian government actually contributed to this? Canada has a long-standing reputation as being a middle power, this negotiating country that can achieve disputes. I mean, that's how we made our name historically. And now the Liberal government is pledging to support this peace process established by Trump, including with humanitarian aid. But what has Carney done in the lead up to this? How has his government supported the peace deal and negotiations?
Well, Cosmin, it's unlikely this deal would have been made without President Trump. Carney, the UK, Australia, and France all said they would grant Palestinian statehood. And Carney initially stated stipulations that Hamas wouldn't be involved in governance and that they would return the hostages along with other stipulations. But the countries, including Canada, decided to officially recognize a Palestinian state while Hamas was still in power. There was no incentives for Hamas to actually relinquish power, and Hamas even claimed a victory that the state recognition was the, quote, fruits of their deadly terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th. Many critics at the time, including conservatives and the Israeli president Benjamin Netanyahu, criticized the move, saying it was just rewarding terrorists and giving legitimacy to the terror attacks, which killed over 1,200 Jews and led to the kidnapping of over 250 hostages, 50 of which are estimated to still be in captivity. So without Trump, there likely wouldn't have been a peace deal or a ceasefire that led to Hamas's surrender. While all those Commonwealth and European countries would have opted to instead give terrorists credibility. But another possible way of looking at it could be without these Western countries granting statehood to Palestine without getting anything in return, maybe Trump wouldn't have been able to push for this so soon. The alternative of terrorists controlling the region and having global recognition could have pressured the U.S. and Israel to do something, and fast. I just want to say there's a lot of emphasis on Hamas being out, but the Palestinian Authority, which are expected to hold elections once they become a state, are funders of terrorism. Mahmoud Abbas is a Holocaust denier, and the Palestinian Authority has terrorism funds that promise to pay the families of so-called martyrs who die or get arrested after committing terrorist attacks on Jews. So with them still in the picture, it's still very much a pro-terror government involved in the region, regardless if it has state recognition. Ontario's education minister has condemned a Toronto high school for broadcasting O Canada in Arabic on the second anniversary of the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks on Israel, warning that disciplinary action could follow. The broadcast at Earl Haig Secondary School, confirmed earlier this week by a staff member who spoke to True North, has now drawn sharp criticism from Education Minister Paul Calandra, who said he will act if school boards, quote, choose not to respect our national symbols and federal legislation. Calandra's statement said, quote, "It is hard to believe that no one recognized the significance of this day. School boards should be focused on creating safe learning environments for all students, never at the expense of one community over another." The minister cited the National Anthem Act, which stipulates that the official lyrics of O Canada are available in both English and French. He said, quote, "If school boards choose not to respect our national symbols and federal legislation, then I will take action." A source at Earl Haig told True North that the Arabic version came from a CD containing multiple recordings of O Canada in several languages, including English, French, Métis, Farsi, and Arabic, and was selected by students that morning. The principal reportedly apologized to Jewish students and staff later that day, calling the decision, quote, "an oversight." The Toronto District School Board has since confirmed that it has instructed all schools to play O Canada only in English, French, or instrumental versions. So, Cosmin, we have a lot of people are extremely upset about this, and there was a number of different events held across Canada, particularly in Ontario and the GTA, that were honoring martyrs or, doing otherwise inappropriate homages to Palestinians or Muslims during a time when people are supposed to be remembering the people killed on October 7th in Israel. What are the underlying ideologies at play here that have allowed Canadian schools to replace the anthem with other languages that are foreign to Canada?
Yeah, Clayton, I think what you're seeing here isn't just a one-off mistake. It's the result of years of this type of thinking creeping into the education system, into politics, and getting youth to be indoctrinated in this program. And schools themselves have been taught to prioritize inclusion, DEI principles, and representation over shared national identity. Back in the day, you used to learn about Canada's rich history, all the people that composed Canada and created it, its origins, and we were told to cherish our national anthem and symbols, but that's not the case anymore. So instead of seeing O Canada as something that unites everybody from coast to coast, no matter where you come from in this country, educators themselves who go through training and universities and teachers' colleges now see it as something to decolonize or reinterpret, because this thinking has permeated post-secondary education, and now it's seeping into elementary schools, high schools, you name it. And that mindset comes from this progressive-rooted push to view everything through this lens of diversity politics, identity, rather than civic and national unity. Canada is a historical thing with shared languages, with a shared identity, and they're trying to tear that down. In a sense, it's also an extension of this idea of multiculturalism that was established by Pierre Elliott Trudeau. It was Pierre Elliott Trudeau who passed laws hearkening Canada as a multicultural place, but this has been taken to an extreme. It's no longer just French, English, Indigenous identities. This has been taken to the extreme by people with political agendas, and additionally by groups that are vying to assert their own beliefs on everybody else. So it goes beyond language. It's about what the symbolism means when national symbols get treated like optional cultural props that can be used in whatever way, interpreted, or even torn down. It shows how far we've actually drifted from teaching kids to be proud of being Canadian. A Harry Potter-themed holiday attraction in Vancouver's Stanley Park, approved by the Vancouver Park Board, has stirred controversy and prompted an apology from city officials due to backlash from the city's, quote, transgender and gender-diverse communities. The Vancouver Park Board apologized after approving the Harry Potter A Forbidden Forest experience following strong backlash from members of the city's so-called transgender and gender-diverse communities. Commissioners voted unanimously Tuesday to apologize and to strengthen consultations with the city's LGBT advisory committee for future events that could carry, quote, equity or human rights implications. The immersive event, created by Warner Brothers Discovery Global-themed entertainment, allows visitors to walk through a light-filled, quote, forbidden forest inspired by the Harry Potter series. Tickets start at about $50 for children and climb to more than $80 for adults. The criticism stems from the event's association with author J.K. Rowling, who has faced years of backlash for remarks about transgender policies and sex-specific spaces for women. Members of the park's board have promoted such an event, quote, will never happen again, with some news articles on the event suggesting the attraction goes against the City of Vancouver's 2016 Transgender, Gender-Diverse Two-Spirit Action Plan. It's insane that this is even a discussion or something you have to apologize over, but honestly, having lived near Vancouver and visiting there quite frequently, I'm not surprised that this is coming out of that city. What are some critics saying of this apology and how the park board chose to handle this? Why did they even have to make a statement?
So I guess the only way to answer the second part of that is because they're ideologically driven. But in terms of what the critics are saying about this, Amy Ham, a former BC nurse who has faced a 3-year regulatory battle over her public comments supporting J.K. Rowling, and who True North has, of course, reported on, called the park board insane and mocked the board for their public denouncement and how they were, quote, sharing tears, and felt that they needed to rebuild public trust for such a benign action. Megan Murphy, a social media influencer, similarly mocked the board, questioning what they thought they were apologizing for. She said the park board had a, quote, pathetic, gross, and shameful response, noting J.K. Rowling's extensive history of advocating for women's rights and sex-specific spaces. Other commentators, such as Andy Leonax, said the city had its priorities all wrong while people are overdosing en masse and the streets are generally unsafe due to flagrant drug use. She also noted how The Harry Potter exhibit, which was meant for kids, boasts that it planted over 65,000 trees from the exhibit. And this exhibit, I'd be interested for someone to point out one thing that's transphobic about it. The Harry Potter franchise has nothing in itself that even resembles what activists are calling transphobia. It's obviously just a crusade against the author, J.K. Rowling, for not agreeing with everything the mob wants her to capitulate to on X. And, how exactly is this exhibit meant for kids harming trans activists who are all likely adults? If you don't like it, you could just not bring your kids there. If many of these activists complaining even have kids. And just as a side tangent, it was interesting to see that one of the franchise's flagship projects, Hogwarts Legacy, a video game, even put a transgender character in the game. And it was voiced by a person who identifies as a trans woman, and still activists weren't happy with it. And many of the trans rights activists even complained that the voice actor of the trans character sounded like a man, but it was a trans identifying person. Many such activists will only be happy once the Harry Potter franchise is completely irrelevant and wiped out or never enjoyed by anyone again.
That's it for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. You can stay on top of new episodes every weekday by subscribing to the Daily Brief on iTunes and Spotify. Also, while you're at it, make sure to hit us with a 5-star rating and please leave a review.